Turn Homeward, Hannalee, Chapter 10, The Persimmon Seed Button. That was the sweetest walk I ever took in my whole life. It was cold as blazes, and it rained and sleeted the whole time, but I didn't mind. I just put one foot in front of the other, keeping my mind on home. Turn homeward, Mama had asked me. I'd said I would, and Hannalee Reed always kept her promises. I didn't know what hour of the night it was when we got to Roswell. It was dark as the inside of a cave, but we could still see the foundations of the houses that had been burned down. The empty places made me feel sad. We crossed the town square where we'd sat for 5 days in the hot sun last summer and walked to the house where Rosalind's Aunt Marilla had lived. Jem asked, "Will we go straight up to the door, Hannalee?" I thought for a while and said, "No, we'd better not. We don't even know for sure if old Marilla still lives here. There's no telling what's going on in Roswell now that the Yankees were here. We'd better wait till morning." "Then what'll we do?" "Sit on the stoop and wait till daylight. We'll keep hushed up so nobody will hear us and come out and ask why we're here. If any Yankees come along, let me do all the talking, Jem." So Jem and I sat on the stoop in front of Marilla Sanders' house while we saw the pale, wet sun come up over some treetops. And then suddenly we heard a baby crying. Yes, there was a baby in the house. In my heart, I knew who that was, and if he was there, I hoped and prayed Mama was there, too.
What if it's a girl, though?
We'll see. I stood up and told Jem, "Mama's bound to be up if the baby's up. Let's go." Jem said, "Hannalee, I'm scared. What if Mama and Marilla Sanders ain't here anymore?" I hit Jem's arm. "Hush. Don't you think I'm scared, too? Now you act brave, even if you don't feel it." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the persimmon seed button. Then I went to the door with it in my hand and knocked softly. Old Marilla Sanders, her white hair hanging down behind her in one long braid, opened the door. She did not look happy to see callers so early in the morning. No, she didn't know Jem and me by sight, and her wrinkled face was cross. "What do you kids want?" I asked her. "Does the widow Reed live here?" "Yes, she does." "Who wants to know about her?" "Me." Oh, how my heart jumped in me. Mama was here. Now I handed the old woman the persimmon seed button and said, "Miss Sanders, I'd thank you kindly if you'd give this to the widow Reed. Tell her that her girl has brung something home to her again that she gave her last summer." As Marilla peered at me, her whole face changed. She cried out, "Hannalee, is that you? You've come home." And then she looked past me and cried again, "Ain't that little Jem behind you?" "Yes, ma'am, it is. We both come home." "You sure did. You get inside here right now." Her old skinny hand caught hold of me by the shoulder and jerked me in. Jem followed, and she said, "The Yankees have left a garrison here. Not many soldiers, but too many for me. Your ma has had her baby." Jem asked, "Baby Paul?" "No, Paulina. She's a girl." Marilla went on excitedly. "She's red-haired like your pa, like his spittin' image. She's a Reed. You wait here. You wait down here, you two. I'll go up and tell your mama you've come home. God alive, how did you ever get here? It beats all believin'." We listened to the old woman going upstairs and opened a door. And there came a crying, "Hannalee! Jem! Hannalee! Jem!" At the sound of Mama's voice, we came thundering up and threw ourselves onto the bed. Mama grabbed tight hold of us while our baby sister wailed in her cradle next to the bed. "Oh, thank you, Lord," was all that Mama could say over and over again, and finally she asked, "Where you been?" "I been in Indiana, and Jem was in Kentucky." "How'd you get loose from the Yankees? Did they let you go?" Jem told her, "No, we run away from 'em. Hannalee came and got me, and then we ran away home together." "Oh, my children," Mama said softly, and then she motioned toward the cradle. "There's your little sister Paulina. Now if only Davy was here instead of in Virginia, my joyfulness would be complete. Won't it be fine when we're all together again?" "Davy?" I felt a cold come quick up my back. Mama didn't know. Raising my eyes from Mama's happy face, I looked at Jem and found his eyes on me. Neither of us answered her. Just then, baby Paulina began crying louder. I reached down to the cradle and carefully picked her up and laid her in Mama's arms. Right off, my baby sister stopped her caterwauling and smiled at me like she knew me. Mama told us, "She's a good baby. Now you two lay here beside me and tell me how you got home." She opened her hand to show me the persimmon seed button Marilla had given her. Smiling, Mama went on, "I reckoned I'd see this again some day, that my pretty older daughter would be bringing it home to me." At this I took off my boy's cap, and she gasped at the sight of my cut-off hair. "Oh, Hannalee, where are your braids?" I told her proudly I cut 'em off. and finally left them up in Kentucky under a bramble bush. And Jem continued, and I put 'em on in Tennessee and wore 'em for a spell in Kentucky. While Mama stared at us puzzled, Jem looked over at me and we both began to laugh. We knew that Mama would laugh too once we told her all about it. When we came downstairs again to let Mama get dressed, we found Marilla Sanders getting breakfast. She straightened up from bending over the stove and asked us, "Where's Rosellen? Why didn't she come home too?" I'd been expecting this question, so had my answer ready. I told the old woman she's up in Indiana. I reckon maybe she'll be along later on. "What's she doing there?" "Working in a Yankee mill. She had to, or else they'd put her in jail." I had decided a while ago that I wouldn't tell her about Rosellen's prettifying herself, or about Mr. Francis Greenwood, or about refusing to come home with me. Instead, I told her another lie. Rosellen reckoned she couldn't pass for a man or a boy the way I could to get through Yankee towns and maybe whole armies of soldiers, so we decided it would be better if only I up and left and went over the Ohio River to get hold of Jem. Do tell, Marilla shook her head. "It's a prime wonder to me you ever got back here at all. I'd never heard her give out so many praisings before to anybody." She continued, "Then Rosellen will come back home after the war is over and marry up with your brother Davy?" This made me look at Jem again, but he had his eyes on his grits. I was glad that Mama picked this moment to show up. I didn't want to tell them that I didn't think either Rosellen or Davy would ever be coming home again. I changed the subject fast as I could by asking Mama, "What'll we do now that we're here? If there are still Yankees about, do you think we'll have to hide?" She told us, "I pondered on that while I was getting dressed upstairs. You two are the only mill hands who've come back here so far that I know about. There are Yankee soldiers around to keep order, they say, but I don't think it'll enter their heads that any mill hands would come back before the war's ended. They won't be looking round for any, so I don't think we need to hide you. We'll ask the folks who know you two by sight not to let on that you were among the workers took away last summer. They'll be glad to do that for us. Hannalee, you might as well stay a boy for now." I asked, "Have the Yankees started up any mills? Can we get work anywhere?" "No, there ain't any mill work at all." Mama sighed deeply. "Marilla's a saint from heaven. The Yankees let her keep this place, and her chickens and garden are what are keeping us alive since you all went away. Hearing this troubled me greatly. Mama, Jem and me make 2 more mouths to feed. I spent almost all the money I had getting home to you. It's winter time now, so there can't be anything left in the garden to eat, and since it's almost as cold in here as it is out of doors, I reckon you use what's left of the wood only for the kitchen stove, don't ya?" "That's true, Hannalee, we do. Some days we stay in bed under quilts because of the coldness." "What do you eat?" asked Jem. "Whatever we can get. We trade for some things, but mostly we eat cush when we have bacon grease or cornmeal mush, eggs, or those grits. We don't see much sow-belly these days." Sow-belly is salt pork. Marilla Sanders' chuckle wasn't joyful. She said, "It ain't that there's not more hogs in Georgia. It's that the Yankee army took 'em and everything else that they could lay their hands on when General Sherman came through." I said, "Well, Jem and me don't intend to be a burden on you."